Hello, my name is Maggie Claytor, and I am a BFA candidate at Winthrop University with a dual concentration in painting and photography. In my painting and photography, I like to use found objects to examine childhood memories and their lasting impact on people and places. I don't believe that adolescence really disappears when we become adults because what we experience in our developmental ages really sets us up for who we become and how we act as adults. And in my work specifically today, I will be talking about my senior capstone series entitled On Jamie Love's Wall.
Before I can discuss my work, I need to first introduce who Jamie Love is and her wall. Jamie Love O'Connell is my stubborn, small-statured 94-year-old grandmother. She married my grandfather Fred at a young age and had 3 children, the middle child being my mom. They first settled down in Union, South Carolina, but moved to a quiet neighborhood in Spartanburg over 50 years ago. During her time in Spartanburg, Jamie did what many 20th century ladies did. Taught preschool, went to bridge club, hosted garden parties, and attended weekly Sunday church services. In her older years, she visited the local Hardys with Fred for their daily coffee. Now, what I consider the wall in the equation is Jamie's home that she shared with Fred for the majority of their marriage until his passing in 2007. Located on Eastwood Circle, behind an enormous magnolia tree sits her house, with 4 bedrooms that have questionably colored carpets, 2 baths, 2 fireplaces, a living room, dining room, kitchen, a closed-in porch with a pink couch, and a garage that I have never actually seen a car in. I visited this house monthly, even weekly sometimes during my childhood, eating many home-cooked meals and walking around their circle of a neighborhood with my grandfather picking up the morning paper and delivering it straight to neighbors' doorsteps. I could list memory after memory held in this house right now, but I'm starting to get ahead of myself, so let's get back to talking about the art. This house, as mentioned, is full of some fun pieces, such as a pink couch that is made of the material that rips your skin off when you stand up from sitting on it too long during summer. But furniture aside, the decor is solely artwork by my uncle when he was in art school. Before I knew who Van Gogh or Matisse were, my scope of art were these walls. I think knowing my uncle drew or painted what were on my grandparents' walls made me desire to become an artist. There were only 7 channels on their television, so during our free time, instead of watching TV, I would color using materials given to me by my grandparents. I believe a field of flowers was a popular subject matter for me, and when I wasn't staring at ETV, I was staring at the art. Just imagine as a 7-year-old holding up a drawing of flowers that you drew and looking up at a giant still life of pots and apples and being like, whoa, how can I do that? After realizing this origin story of my creativity, I felt it ceremonial in my final year of undergraduate art school to create work that paid homage to the house, the woman who still resides there, and the man's work that lines the walls. So, On Jamie Love's Wall is my way of doing so, through the process of photographing painted found objects. On Jamie Love's Wall is an exploration of my artistic practice and personal childhood memories in the Eastwood Circle home. The found objects all emulate specific moments I've experienced in the house. Right as you walk into the home, you see a chair where Jamie would keep her purse, either black or navy depending on the day. And Jamie's style can be summed up easily with khaki high-waisted pants, a tucked-in muted tone shirt, stockings, and shoes almost identical to these, except less colorful. Coffee, salt, and gravy were big staples in the kitchen, and back in my mother's childhood room, there used to be a telephone where I would dial a toll-free number to listen to someone read me the book of the day at the local library. In the room across the hall, a typewriter sits on a bookshelf with a broken U key that I would type my name on a scrap sheet of paper every time I visited as a child, and I recently used it to edition one of my screen print editions. I can't clearly explain this clock, except I saw this and thought, analog. Would definitely find in a nursing home, so it's perfect. I don't have a clear memory associated with it until I returned to her house over winter break and was shocked to find a larger version of it atop a cabinet in the dining room. And from where I sit during meals, it has to have been one of the popular staring points for me as a kid during long, boring adult conversations. And any night that we weren't having dinner in the dining room, we would eat out on the screened-in porch, eating our dinners on TV trays, watching Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy on a very old box television. For our birthdays, she would bake a chocolate cake covered in homemade frosting, lighting 3 candles representing the past, present, and future. Which, as a child, was a very annoying thing because the fun of blowing out candles was to blow out a lot of candles. So as a 7-year-old, I wanted to blow out 7 candles, not 3. But I digress. The color palettes of each piece were inspired by floral arrangements that she would set in the middle of her dining room table. My uncles always sent her arrangements on special occasions to keep her home looking lively, and when she used to garden, yellow daffodils were her favorites, so I found myself using a lot of yellow in these pieces. In this work, I combined painting and photography as a mechanism to freeze my memories in a frame, allowing me the time to analyze the house as an artistic influence rather than just a book of stories. Painting the objects directly was a physical action to connect the Eastwood Circle home to my art, and I used wallpaper from Jamie's home to inspire the backdrops for each composition. When installing my work for the BFA senior show, I looked to my own house to see how we showcase memories. Like most homes, shelves and walls are covered in framed faces. I chose the staircase wall in Rutledge Gallery to hang my work to emulate the gallery wall that showcases school photos and family vacations that the traditional American home has. I continued to paint directly onto the frames that hold the photographs to spread the concept past the edges of the photographs. I also incorporated some of the found objects found in the photographs and my grandmother's carpet from the 60s to play with the physicality of the work. At the end, despite the action being therapeutic and analytical, I can't help to continually ignore the technical side of my work for the conceptual. The memories encapsulated in the found objects represent not only these moments I have had in my grandmother in the house, but my grandmother's relationship with her memories. Most dinners at the dining table are spent listening to her retell stories from her childhood with her 2 older siblings. The same stories are told in rotation, and the details as sharp as they were when I heard the stories 10 years ago. The older brother also had the same gift of storytelling and keeping the past in a fireproof box in their brain. However, in the past 2 years, my grandmother has developed dementia, and in the past year, its effect has rapidly overtaken her short-term memory. She can ask you the same question 10 times in a span of one conversation because she doesn't remember your answer or even asking you sometimes. Her day-to-day lifestyle has changed drastically over the past few months due to her brain's diminishing functions. Despite her short-term memory crumbling, her long-term is still sharp. Dinners are still spent storytelling and remembering who got married to who in the old Spartanburg gossip. It's like the moments are frozen in a photograph, but in her mind. Through On Jamie Loves Wall, I have found my own way of storing personal memories that I hope to remember as long as my grandmother has remembered hers. Thank you for listening.